Hi everyone. Today's video is going to be one that I've avoided making for a long time, but that it's really time to make. So I've had many requests for a video on this topic, and I do um, understand that it's time to make this video. So for those of you who have requested that I make a video on this subject, thank you for your patience. And I hope in this video not just to share my experience, but also to give you some tips on growing these abilities for yourself as well. So yes, I am not just a tarot reader and an energy healer, but I'm also a medium. And there are a lot of reasons why I've avoided having this topic on a public forum. And so I think it's important to kind of talk about that today and address that as well. And I wanted to start by addressing something I've heard some people talking about, in various ways online, that there's this kind of judgment about growing in your path as a healer and offering more than just maybe what you started offering when you started out online, on sharing your experience or your work online. Maybe if you're just a tarot reader, why can't you just stay a tarot reader? Why do you have to grow and do other things and offer other things? And isn't it getting to a point where you're offering too many things and you're trying to do too many things? And I know I received in the personal community where I reside a lot of criticism when I started publicly doing medium work, that I should only do one thing. You can only do one thing as a healer, and if you're trying to do more, then you're just trying to be like everybody else. You're not really growing what you're good at. You're just trying to spread yourself too thin. And I did receive quite a bit of criticism in this respect, both in the community where I work as a healer, and as you all know, I do work as a healer in the community. I don't just work online with my healing work. And then also I've been hearing over the last few years this kind of judgment thing going on about if you are growing in your abilities and opening up to sharing that experience, people really feeling like you should only do one thing and that's the only thing you can do well. So I'd like to share kind of where I'm coming from with this, and sit with this and see if it feels right for you. If it provokes you, then it's something to look at as well. But we are all these vibrational beings, right? We're all soul source. We're all divine at our nature, at our core, at our innermost nature, right? And so we're choosing to incarnate in physical being. This means that we carry that connection to source with us all the time, and we actually are all things at all times. So as we start to open up to our gifts, as we honor ourselves, as we honor that connection to the divine, and we listen to it and we key into it, what happens is these gifts that we all carry within us start to expand and grow. So from my experience, we're all healers. We're all tarot readers. We're all oracle card readers. We're all mediums. We all have those abilities. I like to look at it as a muscle. And the more that we use it, the more that the muscle strength and structure grows, and that we can do more with it. So we all have this ability to talk to other realms. So when I use the word medium, I'm not just talking about talking to people who have passed over, as everybody likes to say, but I'm talking about all interdimensional beings. And I have shared on this channel before that since I was young, I've been able to very easily channel and communicate with other beings from other realms. The Fae are one of the first entities that started approaching me that I had very clear connection and conversation with. I've worked with dragon energy since I was very young. And it's only, I would say over the last 10 years that I've really started to cue into the fact that not all the beings I've been speaking with have identified as extraterrestrial, if you want to use that word, or from other dimensions. Some of these beings are ones who have been in physical body on Earth and now have messages that they wish to share with others. This could be loved ones. It could be people that they knew when they were physically in form. And so my job has been just to be honest and clear about the fact that the messages are coming through. So what I found as I was really stepping into my healing work is that through the card work, if I was doing a card session, or through Reiki, the messages that were coming through, I just could no longer not share them. I was really, really being prompted by certain energies, whether this is a spirit guide, you want to call it an angel, or someone who's passed over, that there were messages that other energies wished to share with the person that was sitting or laying in front of me. Or if I was doing a session online, it was coming through the ether. And so I started doing sessions that were focused just on psychic and medium work, with no cards and without physical hands-on Reiki, using what we would say at our Reiki 2 space would be long distance Reiki, or no past, no present, no future, and connecting with others people's energy in this way. And then starting in 2013, because it's 2016 now, so starting in 2013, 2014, I started doing medium nights with a healer in the community, Noreen McDonald. You guys have seen me interview her on my channel, and she's a very powerful psychic medium as well. And so we started joining forces together. We already had a wonderful connection, and started working together, reading groups of people. And so what we do is once a month we gather 12 people together, and every person in the room receives a medium reading. So in this way, over the past, I would say since around that time, since around 2012, 2013, I've really been understanding that this gift of being able to hear messages from other energies, and so some people would say that that's medium work. You know, to me it's much more than just humans who are no longer in human form with messages. It's from everywhere that we're receiving these messages. But I've really started to publicly step into this work, and it's been an interesting journey. It's especially been interesting, again, sharing it online. And so that's why it's taken till now for me to do a video devoted to this subject. And it's definitely time to do that. But I do want to address at the beginning of this that it's very important for us to understand that we all have these abilities, and we are all more than just one thing, even if it's one thing that we're really great at. So for those of you who would feel more comfortable if we just stayed talking about tarot work on this channel, or whatever it is, for anyone that you come in contact with who's sharing that their gifts are expanding and they're stepping into a new direction, I would encourage you to just take a second and honor the fact that we all have gifts that expand and grow the more that we give attention to them, the more that we honor them, the more we experience that connection, the more that we are becoming a clear channel, and the more powerful our gifts grow. And it doesn't just happen to one of us, it happens for all of us the more that we open up to this work. So in my experience, tarot and oracle work has been the most powerful gateway to honoring and trusting my intuition and opening up to it. And it continues to be a valuable part of my personal spiritual practice and also my healing practice as a healer. And it's something that I have no intention of letting go of. But it is also important for me to be able to honor the fact that my guides, my spirit tribe, have been working very clearly with me over the last few years that channeling work, that medium work, is a part of my journey. And it's part of how I can share and offer healing and connection for not just myself, but for the community as well, whether we're looking at that as the community that I physically live in, or also the online community, the community at large. So it's really about honoring and stepping into that power. And I want to honor the fact that for those of you out there who are feeling that there's some judgment going on, if you're stepping into your power, that people are feeling uncomfortable, that maybe you're shifting and exploring a new avenue, or you are really stepping into a new gift, this is something that you don't need to take on. Taking on that judgment that's coming from another it's not anything that's actually personal. It's not about taking that on. It's about being true to yourself and stepping into your authenticity. And so you all saw at the end of 2015, I was really saying that I wasn't going to be staying in comfortable boxes anymore just because it made others feel safe, and that it was really about me stepping into my own and claiming my path and honoring the beautiful blessings that I experience every day, that I get to share with others when I'm called to do it or when the occasion allows for it. So this is part of me really claiming that. And it's part of, and a beautiful step for all of you in whichever ways you feel your gifts growing, in whatever path or avenue your gifts are going, for you to be able to step into it and claim them. And to honor for yourself that those gifts growing, it's such a blessing, and it means that you are honoring your truest self. You are honoring your soul self. You're honoring your purpose for incarnating at this time on the planet. So, really give yourself some love for that these gifts are growing because you're bringing awareness, because you're focusing on really being present in your experience. And how wonderful is it? How amazing is it that if we choose to open up to communication with Source, with Great Spirit, I would call it, with other energies, the more that we allow ourselves to be present to that as an experience, that it grows for all of us. So I want to also say that I truly believe we all have these abilities, and it's not something that we have to go see someone else in order to experience it. So that being said, kind of this long intro here, the questions that I have been asked by, actually mostly by other healers who have been finding that this gift is growing for them, especially the more that they work with their cards with clients. And they had asked for some tips and tricks, like how do you be comfortable enough in your own skin to use this gift? How do you step into publicly talking about it? How do you honor that? So I want to talk about that in this portion of the video. But at first, I do feel it is necessary for me to address that as our abilities grow, as we step into and claim our power, as we begin to really tune into that higher self, source consciousness, our soul, whatever you want to call that, our abilities do expand and grow. And that is not something that means you're no longer good at what you were doing, or that you've therefore changed and have done something that's just not right. Don't stay small. This is about growing and expanding. That's why we're here. So honor that for yourself and step forward on the path. Don't let any fear of judgment hold you back. That's what I want to address. And also, I feel that in the spiritual community, that kind of judgment really can hold people back. And so this is about encouraging each other on our path. So it's important to honor that and to stay centered in that understanding. So tips and tricks. I would say, working solitary for so long, I was really feeling like the messages were just coming through in ways that I could share them through a tarot reading for a while. Like, oh, here's 8 of Cups, but here's this other message I'm hearing, and I can share the message through the 8 of Cups with my client. But then I began to understand that I was hearing signs and symbols for people to know who or what was coming through. I was finding that spirit animals would show up, or I would see things for them that would be important to talk about in a session. And so what I began to discover is that my tarot reading, even though I was calling it a tarot reading, really was becoming very expansive in what that term meant, and that there was a lot of room to play and expand and to grow in that. So I would say to you, if you're finding these abilities growing, the cards really do give you a really comfortable platform to be able to share messages in ways that people who are coming to you for sessions can feel very comfortable with this. Now, if you're not someone who is a practicing healer in the community, so if there isn't some type of barter for your work, or you're not receiving payment for your work, and you're just someone who is going about their day, and occasionally you might do a reading for somebody, or you might hear something for somebody else, how you can play with this is to share those messages. And a really great way that I found to kind of make it comfortable for people when I'm really feeling guided to share something is just to kind of offer it as a question to them. Hey, does this mean anything to you? I keep seeing this. Does it mean anything to you? Or couching it in a question form is like, well, what about this? Or what if you try to approach this in this way? So there are ways when you are not doing this as your work, as a healer, right? Professional healer. If you're just going about your day, because we all do this, whether we're professional healers or not, there are ways that you can communicate the gift, and through that you find that the gift starts to expand and grow. This is why tarot is a great tool and holds such a wonderful space for us to grow our abilities as intuitives, as psychics, as mediums, whatever you want to call that. So tarot can really hold a space for you to do that. It's very safe and cushy for you to start exploring that in a way that's non-confrontal for others. So I would offer, explore that within the realm of your readings, first of all, and then explore that in your day-to-day life by, if something comes through, sharing that with someone. Now you might feel like, well, I need to check in and see if they're open to that message. And I would agree with you on that. It is important not to overstep. Oh, there goes a crow. Because, we don't want to, sharing something with someone who's not ready to hear it isn't helping them. So it is important to appreciate boundaries, but if it's someone you feel like you can ask a question of, or you can share something with, then this is a really great way to do it without having to be offering a session or worrying that you're going to get something wrong. I take a sip of tea. The other thing that I feel is really important is you absolutely cannot take anything personally when you start doing this work. So when you really step into the channeling aspect and the aspect of bringing in a sign or a symbol and assisting a person to have an experience of a connection with another energy, whether this is someone who's passed over, as people like to say, I really dislike that term. I prefer who's no longer physically with us in this realm. Or it's another entity, whether that's a spirit guide, an angel, or if it's even just an entity from another realm or constellation that's making contact with this person for a reason on their path. They'll often give you an identifying sign or symbol. And so when you start to step into that, it is essential. I cannot say this enough. It is essential that you don't take anything personally and that you honor the message that you're receiving. So many a time in the medium nights that Noreen and I do together, we will receive a sign, a symbol, a message, and someone will say that it doesn't feel right for them. So it's essential that you honor the messages that are coming through, even when someone tells you that it doesn't make sense or it's wrong. I found that whenever I trust my tribe, the message in the end makes sense for them. So they'll often contact us a week or two, even months later, and say, oh my gosh, this thing that came through was actually right on. I just wasn't thinking of it at the time. So it becomes important to really trust what's coming through. Trust your spirit tribe, trust your higher self, trust that infinite connection that you're really opening up to when you start to do this work. That's really important to continue to honor for yourself. And I can say that because the more that let me just try to adjust that. The more that I honor the messages that come through, the more spot on they are, and the more clear they are for the people that I'm working with as well. So when you are doubting yourself or doubting the work, that really creates a blockage for you to be able to channel clearly. So I often find in my work that, especially if it's someone who's no longer in physical form coming through, the intent is always insightful healing. That's what Noreen and I always offer when we do our medium nights, and that's always what comes through in this work. I've never had an experience of an energy coming through that didn't have a message to share that was intended to assist the other person's soul growth, or that wasn't in any way positive. It's always about healing and assisting a person to release what's no longer serving them, the person that the message is for. And so I find that after giving an identifying sign or symbol, then the messages come through. And again, it's not about me judging the message, it's just about me sharing. So as you're opening up to this work, what I have found helpful is saying, you know what, this doesn't make any sense to me, but it might make perfect sense for you. Or I'm just going to share this with you, and go ahead and sit with it, see how it feels. Don't judge the message or the comment that's coming through immediately. So I found it really important to kind of assist people to feel comfortable and grounded in the time that we're spending together, and also to be able to not feel that they have to make sense of it right away, because a lot of times it might be something that doesn't make sense for years even, and yet at the right time that message will be recalled for that person. So it's really about not making it about you as the channeler, but about the message that's coming through for them, and really not attaching judgment to what's coming through. The more that we try to make something happen, the more, again, we're blocking that clear flow, because we're getting into that fear space of, I have to perform this way, or it needs to look like this. This is where it's important not to compare ourselves to others, because each of us has individual gifts, as well as us all having gifts, and we receive the information very differently. This is due to different experiences that we've had. And so we're going to intuit that two people sitting together, getting the same message, will share it, interpret it, intuit it differently because of their human experiences while they're in human form. So it's important that you don't judge yourself compared to other people's healing work. I often find that this means for me not looking at other healers' work when I'm feeling really sensitive or worried that I might do something wrong. That isn't a time for me to watch somebody else and feel like, oh, I'm not good enough, I could never do it like that. But instead to just reconnect with my spirit tribe and trust that work. As far as what grows these abilities, again, just like with tarot, the number one thing that's helped me is actually doing the work. Because I am here to share these messages, the more that I work with people and share the messages, the easier it gets to interpret it, the easier it is to share it clearly, and the more powerful and lasting the experience is for everyone involved. So I would encourage you to get out there and explore doing it. You have to step out of your comfort zone. You have to kind of be nervous, be scared, and still do it anyhow. And again, it really is about tuning into and growing your intuition. So this means, how do we do this? Same thing we talked about in living authentically. We have to listen to the intuition. We have to honor it, trust it, and allow it to expand for us. So when my intuition comes through, it's not like a big loud knocking on the door. Hello, Racine, wake up, here's a message. It's soft, it flows. It's very much like water. And so I do have to be grounded and really pay attention to the messages that are coming through. The more I pay attention, the clearer that watery flow is able to be understood by me. But it is about paying attention and tuning in. So it's really about exploring that more and more, trusting that more and more. That's how you grow these abilities. So actually doing the work, even when it makes you nervous, trusting your intuition, growing that intuition. The more that you're using it, the more that you are honoring it, the clearer it is to understand it. So those two things are very important. The other thing that I can share with you that's extremely important for me is to make sure that I'm recharging my batteries. And so for me, that means meditating, spending time in sacred space. For me, that does involve ritual, although that is a personal spiritual path thing for me. Ritual might not be a part of your path, and that's perfectly fine. But feeling that connection to source, and the most important thing I can say is receiving, allowing your higher self, your connection to Great Spirit, to the divine, to your spirit tribe, to be refilling those energy reserves for you, to help you to release things that are getting stuck, to help you to be really clear and trusting about your path and what needs to be let go of at any given time. So for me, that does involve meditation and sacred space. It involves card work because that feels authentic for me. I love connecting with my cards in that way, receiving messages for myself, and also for how I can expand in a way that serves my higher self the best, that serves my path the best. So that is number one. And the more that we are allowing ourselves to receive this self-healing work, this beautiful energy from our divine source, our divine self, then we are more balanced in our earth path. We're more grounded in our earth path, and the work we do here can be very effective and allows us to not take on things and not carry around things, whether we feel that's coming from others or from ourselves. So always allowing yourself to be fed from source, to be fed from Great Spirit, to have that connection with the divine is essential. So these are just a few things that I found really helpful as I've stepped more fully onto my path as a channeler and a medium. And again, just so you can, just to go over them again, the first and foremost is allowing yourself to receive from the divine. So giving yourself that gift of time and sacred space, time to meditate, time to feel that connection and to tune in. I find that it's very helpful to have a set amount of time I can do that. For others, they've found it helpful to even just every hour tuning in for a few minutes, bringing it back to source perspective, feeling that connection with the divine running through the body. Then trusting and honoring your gifts, trusting and honoring the messages that are coming through, not doubting the messages, not doubting yourself or your work as a healer, and practicing. So getting out there and sharing the gift as much as possible, working with other people as much as possible. It doesn't have to be in a client to healer way. This can be in just asking friends, asking to work with friends, asking people that you maybe work with that you're comfortable with, but allowing yourself to explore this with others. If you're someone who does card readings already, this is a wonderful space where you can explore those gifts, because a lot of the messages that come through will come through as you're working with certain cards. And so you can explore sharing those messages in a way that's very safe for both you and the client. It's very supportive of that process. So these are some tips that I wanted to make sure to share with you, because I know several of you have asked me to do that. If your gifts are expanding in this way and you're really feeling called to explore relationship with other entities, other energies, and receiving messages from other realms, then I encourage you on that path. And we all have this ability and this gift, and it's a joy to grow it. It is a huge blessing to be able to explore this avenue of my path, and it's one that I am blessed to be able to work with and to see grow as the years are going by. So as always, I am sending you all much love and many blessings. Blessed Imbolc, everyone. See you in the next video.